Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. It's a clown show out there. It really is. And pouring over the news, honestly, gets a little bit depressing, but I got a lot to say about it. And honestly, it's kind of good to see Donald Trump's ratings absolutely fall through the floor at this point. Because this clown show, people have just had enough of it. And it's the majority of people that have had enough. This guy is a legend in his own mind, really. I mean, he was famous. Now he's infamous. But the last week, I've essentially been watching Evel Knievel be resurrected from the dead and trip over his own cape. It's embarrassing to watch at this point. If you look at the numbers that just came out, because the numbers don't lie. The numbers absolutely do lie, but in this case, we're going to trust them because the general sentiment around the country right now really does kind of back it up. The mythology of the man doesn't really matter. It just doesn't. Listen, Gallup poll came out saying that 60% disapproval with only a 32% approval. That means you still have a few idiots out there that are just not brave enough to say that they don't like this guy. Because love him or hate him, that's all it is with Trump. It's black or white. It's either you can't stand the guy or you're a sucker. That's really all that it is. There's no in between. There's no, hey, we're going to see how it plays out. We've seen how it's playing out at this point. Number one, it's hurting the American people. It's hurting the global market. It's hurting the economy. It's making people a ton of money, but not the normal American people who actually need the money. And people are just sick of it, as they should be. So it's good to see that, and this isn't just Gallup poll. These are polls across the board, right? This isn't just an Antifa poll on Reddit. No, this is right-wing, conservative, liberal, middle of the road, whatever. Disapproval is disapproval. And the American people essentially are listening to everything this guy's saying and are like, nah, thanks, bro. We're good. We've had enough of this shit. So met with these numbers, a normal person will probably reel it back a little bit, right? Tone it down. That might be the smart play, right? Get people back on your side. No, what does Trump do? He's going to lash out. He lashes out on everybody. His favorite target for his abuse, the press, as usual, because they're just around. It doesn't matter if you're a guy. It doesn't matter if you're a girl. If you're a woman, you're a little bit overweight, he's going to call you piggy. Here's my thing about MAGA. Here's my thing about Make America Great Again. Is that the whole thing is just built on misogyny. And I hate saying that because I don't like buzzwords. But that's exactly what it is. Listen, if you're a guy and you're in a room with people and you have one guy stand up and he decides to call a woman a piggy, make fun of her weight, all that shit, that guy usually gets piled on, or at the very least, he's going to get, hit in the jaw. And you think that, these people that are talking about masculinity, these people are talking about what it is to be a man, you got to stand up, for the weak, blah, 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 blah. It's just, your actions tell a completely different story. Truly, they do. And that's why you're seeing 6 out of every 10 Americans right now don't like this guy. And honestly, we're just kind of the MRIs, right? The health issues that are coming up. You're hoping that maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel on this thing. And maybe this thing's going to be over a little sooner than later. The American people have to pray for it to be over sooner than later. Because if this thing actually plays out the whole 4 years, we're going to be in another endless war against the people who really don't deserve to have a war thrown upon them. More American people are going to be used as cannon fodder for the oil companies. And Americans kind of grew sick of that shit over the past 20 years. We're done with that. We don't want to do that again. The approval ratings for a campaign against Venezuela are essentially not even breaking 20%. Even the MAGA people aren't happy with that. They know exactly what it is. You can talk about drug boats, while at the same time, you're going to be freeing cocaine kingpins coming out of Honduras. You're going to say that each drug boat costs 25,000 American lives. Well, at the same time, you're going to free a guy who is responsible for shipping 400 tons of cocaine into the country. Yeah, that makes sense. That's the equivalent of 5 million people. If those numbers hold up, that's the equivalent of 5 million people that are dead, apparently, because of that guy. You can't make this shit up. You really can't. And when you do stuff like that, it just, the entire thing seems disingenuous, right? We can't trust your motives. We knew we couldn't trust your motives. But the thing is, how are people still falling for this? And I always fall back to the same thing, and I'll say it day after day until it really sinks in. And I know for most of you smart people out there who actually understand how this world works, you understand this. Those 20%, wrong end of the bell curve. They're just not bright. I mean, these are the kids who like peaked in middle school, not even high school. Like we said, 50% of America has the reading level of a fifth grader, but at least there's 30% who can look at it and be like, hey, you know, I guess this doesn't feel right. But you still have that 20% that are like clapping seals. That's all they are. Clapping seals. War in Venezuela? Sounds good. Troops in the streets? Sounds good. Tariffs driving up prices of everything in the country, shutting down small businesses, making life harder for Americans? Sounds good. We're making the economy great again. You can't make this shit up. You really, honestly, truly cannot. But like I said, you know, instead of taking a moment to step back and kind of like judge your own decisions, see the impact that it's having on your voter base and the population as a whole, this guy just doubles down on this shit every day. And the administration of bootlickers just backs him left and right. We get tantrums, screams, insults to everybody who's around him, even people who aren't around him. If Stephen Miller told Trump that he was being haunted by the ghost of Abraham Lincoln, Trump would call them the Ghostbusters. And they're not even real, but he would think they are because they were on TV once. And they're from New York City. Anytime this grown-up, orange-haired toddler is shown that his decisions are unpopular, you just see all those fake polls, you know, these people aren't patriotic, they hate this country. It's all just a deep state conspiracy. It's like watching a toddler have a meltdown because the block tower that he constructed of crayons has collapsed under its own weight. The whole thing about this is not just the approval ratings, right? It's what the approval ratings reflect. And that's what this guy doesn't understand, because he thinks that any opposing view or any take of reality that goes against what his sycophants are telling him, he just brushes off. But this is a reflection of what's happening in this country. The cost of living going up, wages being stagnant, inflation, the economy cratering. You know, people say, I'm working harder every day, but I'm falling behind every day, farther and farther. I have to take on more debt. We just had Black Friday, and I'm going to be paying that shit off for the next 5 years. In fact, I had to refinance my home just to pay for Christmas gifts this year. I mean, that's the true state of the country right now. The chaos, the instability, the constant headlines, right? Like a nation about to collapse. 22 states right now, according to Scott Bizen, are in a recession. And it's all just met with lies and oversimplifications from a man who doesn't actually dig in and understand the topics that he's talking about. This is a guy who skims across the headlines and the headlines only, but only headlines coming from Fox News, right? I mean, the guy is completely partisan, and the entire news media on that side at this point are just nothing but lines of confirmation bias for a mad dictator who's in charge of our country right now. The whole thing is just madness. And meanwhile, everyday Americans, right, the independents, the moderates, the people who are working hard every day, you know, they're looking at this and they're just saying, enough of this shit. And you know what? They're right. They're right about this, because we can't keep going on like this. The clown acts and demagoguery are not governance. It's just performance art, and it's not even good performance art. It's just manipulation. It's gaslight. It's cheap. It's emotional, and it's destructive. The real question is, when we're looking at all this and the chaos and, you know, the slow approach into war, I guess the fast approach into war is, I guess we've had, the President Trump on Truth Social declare that the airspace over Venezuela is closed down. He had a talk with Maduro that apparently didn't go anywhere, because you know exactly how that talk went. Maduro's like, bro, what the hell is going on? And Trump's like, listen, let us blow up a couple things in your country, give us 25% of your oil, and we'll be good. Because that's what this whole thing is. It's just a grab for resources. Number one, to try to make up for the fact that the economy has been cratering, except for AI companies, and the demand for accountability for the Epstein files. I mean, the call for that stuff's getting louder and louder. Unredacted, that's what people want. That's what people need. To have any kind of trust in the system, that's what we need. Because we need to move forward at this point, no matter what this clown wants. People have to start demanding accountability, and not just allegiance. This thing cannot be a spectacle anymore. We can't be voting in simply a popularity contest. We have to look at action instead of just what people are saying. Look at what they do. Hold them accountable for the things that they do. The elections that we have in the future, especially with the midterms, they need to be a referendum on reality, a referendum on action, a referendum on belief. We have to support independent journalism right now instead of just mainstream media. We've spent the past 10 years listening from the right as they've said the mainstream media is corrupt, that it's a puppet of the state. And you know what? They were right. On both sides, truly, they are. We need to lean more on independent journalism more than ever before, because it's the only way that we can actually see truth in a situation that isn't seen through the lens of popularism, demagoguery, and political tribalism. That's it. We need to focus on the policies, stories, and events that actually affect people and lift them up. We need to look at what's happening in education. We need to look at what's happening in the real economy and not just the top leg of the K-shaped recovery. We need to understand the collapse of the real infrastructure in America and the decrease of social mobility, the cancellation of social mobility, as wealth disparity in this country has skyrocketed and exploded, as the capture of assets and resources in this country have simply gone to a few instead of the many. When 2/3 of the money in this country is held by the top 100 families in this country, and the other 330 million people in this country are fighting for that 1/3 of the wealth, you cannot have an equitable system. You cannot have true equality. We have to build broad-based coalitions that go beyond the left and the right and understand that this entire thing is a top versus bottom reality. That's the war that the people are in right now. Class struggle and class war is here, and the American people need to understand that it's here and that it's being waged on them with the backing and the support of those in political office right now. It has been for a long time, but it's gotten to the point where the people can't ignore it anymore. There has to be a call for solidarity, because that's exactly the only way that we actually have in this country to get out of the position that we find ourselves in right now. And lastly, we need to believe in democracy again. This is probably the most important thing, because so many people have lost faith in democracy. It's become a joke. It's become something where the definition and trust has shifted so much that it's just become a chaotic understanding of a concept that this country was built on. The importance of democracy cannot be understated, because without democracy, we have fascism. Without democracy, we have oligarchy. We have a new rise of aristocracy that we're seeing in this country right now capture all the power that denies democracy. Because although it'll let us vote, that vote actually means nothing. When it comes time to make the policies that actually help the people, the bills are just produced with a veneer of approaching the resolutions that they're supposed to have, while at the same time being filled with new laws and actions that only help the wealthiest in this country. The people have to take this country back through a referendum of an understanding of what democracy is and how important it is to us, and that we need to hold it up. Because the whole MAGA train is a vile act against democracy, and it's open. Right? These people stated out loud that democracy has failed. What we need is a strong ruler. Listen, I cannot talk to you if you don't believe in democracy in this country. You're like, well, this isn't a democracy, it's a republic. Yes, it's a democratic republic. All right? You need to understand what this thing is. You need to understand that America wasn't built on monarchy, that it was built on a social contract, and understand what the social contract is, that it isn't adherent simply to ethnicity, that it isn't adherent simply to blood right, that it captures the interest of everyone within the realm. That's what it's about. That's what America's about. It's about pushing forward the interest of the people who are here now, in this moment. Not the people hundreds of years ago. Not the people that aren't you, but you here now. Your neighbor here now. That's what's important. Those are the people who make America what it is, and they are the only Americans that matter. Right now, the approval for Trump's at 36%. 60 say they disapprove of this shit. And honestly, it's going to continue to worse. Fortune just put out an article saying that 2026, we're actually going to see more of a stock market boom. They're not calling for a recession. They're not calling for a collapse. They're saying it's continue this way. What that tells the American people is that Trump's economy is continue to boom for Trump's people, but not for the American people. MAGA morons are going to continue to lose their benefits, their social safety net, get cut out from under them. While at the same time, they're going to see all their wealth, their houses, their homes, their realities get sold off to the highest bidder on Wall Street. That's a continuation from 2025, increasing in its chaotic, catastrophic fucking effect into 2026. This shit is a clown show, and it's got to stop. The only way to actually fight against this thing right now, what we're seeing, is to kind of divest from the system. You see calls from people saying that, hey, we're not buying stuff for the holidays. That's a small step in the right direction. Invest in small business. Understand what the businesses around you support and hold them accountable, because you need to. Because the social action that you can actually take simply within the way that you spend your money and where you place your assets. It's as simple as that, truly. To take away power from the most wealthy in this country, to take away power from the big corporations, is simply not to feed them. And when the inevitable time comes, which it will come, where the government says that we need to bail out these businesses because they're too big to fail, or because the American government has actually bought interest in these companies, the American people have to say no. And if their representatives support that and say, you know what, yeah, we have to bail them out, hold them accountable, and get them out of office. Have the working class take over seats of power in this country, because this country needs to be ran by people who actually represent the people. This shit is fucking done. I'm done. We should let this country just burn down so we can rebuild it at this point. It's madness. If you're still here at this point, like and subscribe. Think about becoming a member. Give a donation to the channel. We love you guys as always. Keep your heads up, right? Don't let the reality that's being shoved down your throat by mainstream media, when you know that the reality of this country is just bad. It's bad. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them think that you're a failure, that you're not patriotic. You love this country. You want it to be right, and you don't agree with this idiot that's in charge. Understand that you are the majority. As of right now, you are a large majority of the country right now. Your feelings are represented by your neighbors, the majority of your neighbors. And that is a very important thing for you to keep your sanity, to know that you're not going insane. You're not going mad. It's the system that's mad. It's the clown that's in charge that's mad. The guy who's running the circus. Just stop buying the ticket. Have a good one.